It was mid-morning when Claire finally left the mayor's office at Gracie Mansion. Although the sun was shining, the snow was thick on the uncleared sidewalks, and the wind was biting cold. She was relieved to finally be away from the mayor. Her face went from disinterest, which was only for the benefit of the mayor, and changed to a scowled look, with a sullen and angry look in her eyes. Her face was a mask of fear and concern, outrage and determination. The protest she could not voice boiled inside of her, as the mayor continued on like she was the solution to all problems. Even her walk changed as she made her way to the bus stop. Since automobile transportation had temporarily been suspended to curtail the pollution, she was forced to wait at the bus stop for the trip downtown. She knew the bus would be jammed to capacity, and she would either have to stand or sit in the rear section reserved for males. Those who sat in the restricted male section were generally sneered at by the other female passengers, and eyed suspiciously by the males. There were two other women at the bus stop. Both were bundled in fur coats, relics of the past, with wool scarves tied about their heads, and the straps of their oxygen masks hanging from the corner of their purses. Sight of the oxygen masks made Claire glance instinctively at the sky. It was comparatively clear, although the sunlight struggled to penetrate the lingering gray cloud of pollution. That cloud was like a mushroom over top of the city. That even the spire of the Empire State Building vanished into it. Whenever she saw the peaks of the buildings disappear, a sense of doom swept over her. As a child, she remembered green grass and trees with foliage. Birds filled the park, and strange, exotic animals paced their cages in the zoo. Today, if plants and animals existed, it was in the regions where humanity hadn't found it undesirable, remote places where the pollution could not reach. Feminist activists, before the takeover, had spoken of a project aimed at finding and breeding animals, of saving them from extinction, but had been abandoned in the struggle of the sexes for world control. Sighing, Claire brushed the snow from the bench, spread out her plastic headscarf, and sat down. She had joined the subterranean fighters as a spy in the mayor's office, with the hopes that her contribution would hurry the end to the struggle. Only, she had reasoned, when the balance of the sexes had been achieved, could mankind devote its attention to the dying environment, and therefore save itself as well. She had chosen her side carefully, convinced that males would again come into power. She was not quite prepared for the relentless determination of the New York City's mayor, or for her unfaltering efforts to keeping men in the squalor of defeat. She was aware of the danger that lay ahead of her. The latest development she had listened to only minutes before had to be reported to the subterraneans. Unless they were warned of the impending attack on the abandoned subway system, the entire fighting force faced capture and death. Her instructions had been to enter the subway only at night unless extreme conditions warranted taking the risk of discovery. The bus rounded the far corner and approached the stop. The two women in furs pressed forward, prepared to battle for positions. Claire rose and hung back shyly. The bus came to a full stop, and the women began to board. As they did, a black limousine to the police troops left Gracie Mansion. The police, soldiers, and public officials were the only ones able to drive automobiles, a privilege they loved to exploit. The limousine was designated for the matron of police, while several vehicles trailed her. They turned on the sirens, almost ear-shattering for Claire. Where it was once used to tell people to clear the way on the streets, it now served little purpose, as they had free reign of the roads, except for the occasional bus here and there. And the bus she was getting on was parked. Claire stood watching as the limousine vanished out of sight, while the two women tried to get into the one remaining seat. She vividly recalled the leering expression of the matron of police as she had held up the coat found near the destroyed armory. Her hatred of the mayor, plus her plan for retribution for the crime against her force, had caused her to pull herself erect and expand her chest like an inflated balloon. Even if subterraneans were warned of their pending attack on their hiding place, Claire doubted their success in invading the determined matron. Claire became aware of the impatient bus driver, the bosomy redhead, leaning forward over the wheel and glaring at her.
I've got a schedule. You going or staying?
Claire stepped through the doors, and they slammed behind her. As she clung to the stirrup in the mid-morning rush, she wondered if she had chosen the right side in selecting the male minority.